The Francis Scott Key Bridge, a symbol of Baltimore's strength and resilience. On March 26, 2024, this vital artery of commerce and connection became the site of an unspeakable tragedy. The cargo ship Dolly, a behemoth of steel carrying tons of cargo, approached the bridge with deceptive grace. On the bridge, construction workers toiled diligently, unaware of the impending doom. Then, disaster struck. The Dolly, instead of smoothly passing under the bridge, veered sharply. Its massive hull slammed into the bridge's support beams with a deafening roar. The impact sent shockwaves through the structure, shaking the very foundations of the bridge. The bridge, unable to withstand the colossal force, began to crumble. Concrete and steel rained down upon the unsuspecting workers below. The once proud structure, a testament to human ingenuity, collapsed into the water below, taking with it the lives of 6 innocent souls. The Dolly, mortally wounded, came to a halt, its bow embedded in the wreckage of the bridge. The waters of the Patapsco River churned with debris and the echoes of a city's collective gasp of horror. The catastrophic collapse of the Key Bridge was not a random act of fate. It was a disaster meticulously set in motion by a series of overlooked and underestimated electrical failures. It was the culmination of a series of chilling events, each one a domino in a line that once tipped, led inexorably to the final catastrophe. A cascade of failures that began long before the Dolly even left the port. The ship, it turned out, was a disaster waiting to happen, riddled with electrical problems that foreshadowed the tragedy to come. The Dolly's electrical system was a ticking time bomb. The ship's electrical panels were outdated and poorly maintained, with wires frayed and circuits overloaded. These issues were well known but consistently ignored, a testament to the negligence that plagued the vessel's maintenance. Just 10 hours before the crash, the Dolly, docked peacefully in the port of Baltimore, experienced 2 unsettling blackouts. These weren't mere flickers of the lights. These were complete power outages, plunging the vessel into darkness. The first blackout was attributed to crew error, a mistake that should have served as a blaring siren of caution. The crew, already on edge, scrambled to restore power, but the underlying issues remained unaddressed. One blackout was attributed to crew error, a mistake that should have served as a blaring siren of caution. But the warnings were ignored. The crew, under pressure to meet their departure schedule, hastily patched up the problem without a thorough investigation. But the warnings were ignored. The ship, cleared to sail, set off on its fateful journey, its electrical system a ticking time bomb. The decision to proceed was driven by a combination of overconfidence and a tight schedule, a dangerous mix that would soon prove fatal. The ship, cleared to sail, set off on its fateful journey, its electrical system a ticking time bomb. As the Dolly sailed into the night, the crew remained unaware of the impending doom that lurked within the ship's electrical circuits. Minutes before the crash, the unthinkable happened. The Dolly was struck by not 1, but 2 catastrophic electrical failures in rapid succession. The first failure caused a massive power surge, frying the ship's main control systems. The Dolly was struck by not 1, but 2 catastrophic electrical failures in rapid succession. The second failure was even more devastating, knocking out the backup systems and leaving the ship completely powerless. These failures crippled the ship, rendering its single propeller and rudder useless. The crew, now in a state of panic, could do nothing but watch as the ship drifted helplessly towards its doom. The Dolly, once a vessel under the control of human hands, became a rudderless behemoth, adrift in the currents of fate. The once mighty ship was now at the mercy of the sea, its fate sealed by the very systems that were supposed to keep it safe. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, all eyes turned to the crew of the Dolly, searching for answers amidst the wreckage and despair. The scene was one of utter devastation, with debris scattered everywhere and the once proud vessel now a twisted, broken shell of its former self. The crew, their faces etched with shock and disbelief, moved through the wreckage with a sense of urgency, hoping to find some clue, some explanation for the catastrophe that had befallen them. The crew, shaken but alive, recounted a harrowing tale of confusion and chaos in the moments leading up to the impact. They spoke of a series of inexplicable events that had left them powerless and adrift, a ship without direction or control. Each member of the crew had their own version of the events, but all agreed on one thing. The situation had spiraled out of control with terrifying speed. They spoke of a sudden and complete loss of power, a blackout that plunged the ship into darkness and left them blind and helpless in the face of impending disaster. The lights flickered and died, the hum of the engine ceased, and an eerie silence enveloped the ship, of warning lights flashing frantically in the darkness. The alarms blared, a cacophony of sound that only added to the sense of panic and confusion. The crew scrambled to respond, but their efforts were hampered by the lack of power and the sheer chaos of the situation. The apprentice pilot, at the helm during those crucial moments, described a desperate struggle to regain control of the powerless ship. His face, a mask of fear and determination, told the story of a young man thrust into a situation far beyond his experience or training. He spoke of the frantic attempts to restart the engines, to bring the ship back to life, but all efforts were in vain. He spoke of frantic calls to the engine room, desperate pleas for assistance that went unanswered. The communication lines were down, and the crew was isolated, each member left to fend for themselves in the darkness. Of the sickening realization that the Dolly was adrift, a puppet with its strings cut. The ship, once a marvel of engineering and design, was now a lifeless hulk, drifting aimlessly on the open sea. The crew could only watch in horror as the ship drifted closer and closer to disaster. The senior pilot, a seasoned veteran of the seas, confirmed the crew's account of the power failures. His voice, calm and steady, provided a measure of reassurance, but his words only underscored the gravity of the situation. He spoke of the ship's systems failing one by one, of the growing sense of dread as they realized the full extent of their predicament. He painted a picture of a crew battling not only the elements, but also the terrifying reality of a ship spiraling out of control. The wind howled, the waves crashed, and the ship lurched and rolled, a plaything of the sea. The crew fought valiantly, but their efforts were no match for the forces arrayed against them. The crew, cleared of drug and alcohol use, maintained that they had done everything in their power to avert the disaster. They spoke of their training, their experience, and their dedication. But all their efforts had been for naught. The ship was doomed, and there was nothing they could do to save it. But their efforts, tragically, were not enough. The ship crashed, and the aftermath was a scene of devastation and despair. The crew, their spirits broken, could only look on in horror at the wreckage of their once proud vessel. Their testimony, while shedding light on the frantic moments before the crash, did little to quell the growing anger and suspicion surrounding the Dolly and its owners. The courtroom was a scene of tension and drama, with the crew's every word scrutinized and questioned. The public, hungry for answers, demanded to know how such a disaster could have occurred. The question remained, how could a ship riddled with electrical problems, a ship that had already experienced 2 blackouts just hours before, be cleared to sail? The investigation revealed a litany of issues, from faulty wiring to inadequate maintenance, but the answers were still elusive. The search for answers had just begun. The investigation would be long and arduous, with many twists and turns, but the truth would eventually come to light. The story of the Dolly was far from over, and the lessons learned from this tragedy would shape the future of maritime safety for years to come. The collapse of the Key Bridge sent shockwaves far beyond the immediate disaster zone. It was a catastrophe that reverberated through every aspect of life in Baltimore, affecting not just the physical landscape, but the emotional and economic well-being of its residents. It ripped a hole not just in Baltimore's infrastructure, but in the very fabric of the city itself. The bridge was more than just a structure, it was a lifeline, a symbol of connectivity and progress. The bridge, a vital artery for commerce and commuters alike, was severed, leaving a city struggling to function. The immediate aftermath saw a city in chaos, with emergency services stretched to their limits and residents grappling with the sudden disruption. The port of Baltimore, one of the busiest on the East Coast, ground to a halt. This port was a crucial hub for the import and export of goods, and its paralysis had a ripple effect that extended far beyond the city limits. Cargo ships, laden with goods destined for businesses and homes, sat idle, unable to reach their destinations. The economic impact was immediate and severe, with businesses facing shortages and consumers experiencing delays and price hikes. Industries reliant on the port, from sugar to automotive, faced crippling disruptions, their supply chains shattered. Factories had to halt production, and warehouses quickly emptied, leading to a cascade of economic challenges. The impact on daily life was equally devastating. Schools and hospitals, which relied on timely deliveries of supplies, found themselves in dire straits. The city's public services were under immense pressure, struggling to maintain normalcy. The bridge, used by 30,000 commuters every day, was gone, replaced by a mangled wreck. The daily commute turned into a nightmare, with drivers facing hours-long detours and public transportation systems overwhelmed by the sudden increase in demand. Commuters faced hours-long detours, their daily routines upended. The psychological toll was significant, with stress and frustration becoming a part of daily life for many. The collapse highlighted the fragility of the city's infrastructure and the human cost of its failure. It was a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the need for investment in maintenance and modernization to prevent such disasters in the future. Baltimore, a city known for its grit and resilience, found itself grappling with a tragedy that touched every corner of its existence. Yet in the face of adversity, the community came together, showing remarkable strength and solidarity. The collapse of the Key Bridge was a stark reminder that even in the modern world, disaster can strike at any moment, leaving chaos and heartbreak in its wake. But it also highlighted the resilience of a community determined to rebuild and emerge stronger.